Let's talk about the men's match first. This is the one that I think has the most interesting variety of outcomes. I think everyone expects Owens and Zayn to have some sort of something leading to the finish involving those two, and whether you do something where it's one of them having mercy for the other and gives up on their behalf. Davey Portman threw out I thought it was a cool idea of the Bloodline turning on Zayn and beating him to a pulp until Owens has to give up, and Sammy doesn't know what the deal is, and then the Bloodline explaining it was all a plan, like that you're on board with us. But it represents the cracks now in the foundation, that Zayn wasn't brought into this plan, and they had this concept. But there's multiple ways you can get to the end. I do see the Bloodline winning it though. I think that has the most interesting ways of where you can go.
Agreed. Yeah, I don't think it makes sense for the baby faces to win unless you were going to somehow, I don't know, follow up with like individual matches with all of them. And I don't really think that's you need to do that. The Bloodline are such a strong unit right now. I think for their first sort of like posse match, you need to give them the win via, nefarious means. I like that idea a whole lot. It'd certainly be incredibly heartbreaking and it would really put a lot of babyface momentum behind Sami Zayn. What I'm loving about this is that like it really feels like Sami is like the lead character in all of this, and so much of it hinges on him, despite him not being a champion or even maybe near world title contention. He feels like the most important part of this match and this show, and I think it'll be a great match. I'm sure they're putting all their creative power into booking it to make it compelling and surprising, as they usually do with War Games. I think it'll be a great sort of like first War Games main event for the main roster.
Yeah, you have an incredible lineup of talent in both matches, really. So, I think this match is going to be tremendous, and I think both matches are going to get a considerable amount of time. The women's match has Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, Asuka, Mia Yim, and Becky Lynch against Bayley, Dakota Kai, Io Sky, Nikki Cross, and Rhea Ripley. And I would hope coming out of this is that you did the subtle run in with each other between Belair and Ripley. I just hope coming out of this, you see hopefully several directions. Like you can certainly do the revenge match with Becky and Bayley, but Belair needs challengers as well before WrestleMania, and they have kept Ripley extremely protected. And perhaps now is that time that you're looking at. The Rumble is a big stadium show in January, and you want to have Belair in a big match, and hopefully this match gets that into motion.
Yeah, it seems like they're hinting towards Rhea versus Belair. So maybe we can expect that for WrestleMania. Rhea versus Becky was also something they teased today, but that feels almost like something a bit further down the road. I think in the immediate sort of like weeks and months after this, you're probably going to get Becky versus Bayley. And then, of course, you also have other people getting paired off here, between either Alexa and Nikki, who have a history together, Asuka and Io Sky, of course, Mia Yim and Rhea, of course. So leading to whatever they have there, too. The women's War Games matches on NXT have, like, to me, typically been very good, sometimes even stronger than the men's. So I'm looking forward also to see what creative booking they do here to, get us invested. And do we get Becky, Sasha chance, despite, them announcing Becky beforehand in Boston?
It's possible, given that they are in Boston. It's possible. I think that was the strategy of putting Becky, announcing her the night before, so you don't leave it, because I would say if it was an empty spot, you would definitely be encouraging that to happen, even though there's been no hints towards it. I'm not expecting it to be like, if there was a mystery spot on this show, I could see that fueling it, but you don't have that, and I think enough people are now not expecting her.
I don't think it would derail the match in any way or take away from it. I think Becky is a real strong make good for not getting Sasha Banks. So I think people will probably be really into the match.
Then we have Ronda Rousey and Shotzi, and This is a match, certainly a big one for Shotzi to have a big pay-per-view match here with Ronda Rousey, and Ronda is still fresh into the heel role. I think everyone is expecting Ronda to retain this title, but it's more so what kind of match these two can have on a show that, there's only 5 matches, so it's a very limited amount of matches on this show, and whether it can stand out or not.
It's a big test for the both of them, on a card like highlighted by a lot of experience in 2 War Games matches. If they're going maybe like a 10-minute match, how compelling of a 10-minute match can it be? How perfect of a 10-minute match can it be? I think Shotzi is a very spectacular sort of like wild type of performer in the same vein as like a Jeff Hardy could be sometimes, but at the same time might be a little bit sloppy from time to time. And Ronda Rousey, I think, is somebody who, also has her issues, I think, sometimes with imperfections in these sort of high caliber matches. So can they, deliver something satisfying while also delivering something spectacular to keep up with the rest of the show?
Okay, and quickly here, AJ Styles and Finn Balor. I mean, this should be a great match, and given they'll probably get a decent amount of time in this one, but I also feel like just look at this graphic. Okay, we're gonna have a million people involved in this, and maybe more beyond just what we see
But
here.
that's not necessarily a bad thing. They have a big overall story to tell and people to get over, with the rest of them. But the central figures in here are the people in the matches. And I feel like there's a standard that these two have set with their matches and the sort of reputations that the both of them bring. And they have to certainly live up to that, especially on a pay-per-view. So I think for the most part, you'll still get an uninterrupted match. But shenanigans maybe to just kind of color the rest.
Yeah, and certainly the fact that they recently played the whole Edge Beth angle from Extreme Rules. I mean that will be in the back of people's minds too, because I think ultimately their returns will be linked to these stories.
Do you think Rhea will be in this match? Like, will she be playing, pulling double duty?
She kind of needs to be if you've got like Mia Yim and Rhea Ripley. I guess you could either have both of them there
Right.
or both of them eliminated because of the War Games. So I would imagine it's going to be either both of them or neither of them. And part of that is I would say like maybe a decent chance they're not. If you're, especially if that War Games, the women's one, is going early, you kind of want to sell the effects of War Games. I don't know if it makes a whole lot of sense for them to come back, but they could also do this one earlier. And then the last one is Rollins, Bobby Lashley, and Austin Theory for the United States Championship. I'm sure this will be a good match. It's not like the top of my priority list. Rollins is kind of in this weird in-between role. Lashley is kind of in this weird in-between role. Austin Theory is kind of in this weird in-between role. That's how I would assess this.
Right. Yeah. The dynamics are going to be fascinating. I'm just kind of looking for this to be like a fast-paced, high quality match with some very different sort of styles here, between a powerhouse in Bobby Lashley to somebody who's as versatile and incredible as Seth Rollins, to somebody who I feel is just starting to still continue to find their footing, in Austin Theory. To me, like, Theory seems like coming off of like the Money in the Bank failed cash in, feels like a rather like big priority for Paul Levesque right now on Raw to at least have him feel like he can be elevated at least from a lower position rather than somebody getting lost. So I don't anticipate a title change. I feel like Rollins with this run has been very good and there's still a lot to do with it. But I imagine like it'll be a good match with Theory. Like, who takes the pin in this one, John?
In this one, I think you have
because I don't know if I see Lashley taking the pin, and I don't know if I see Austin Theory taking the pin either, with him just coming off of a failed cash in.
Yeah, I feel that's the reason Austin Theory's in this match. I mean, you could always do the title change, but I'm kind of with you. I think that Rollins is your guy on Raw now with the title. You just moved it over. They could also do some kind of wacky finish here where it's designed to protect the guy taking the fall as much as it is, or even more so than the guy that's actually going over in the match.
True.
I don't know. It's like, I'm sure the match is going to be fine. I'm not all that looking forward to this. I think it's just going to be, and maybe they'll really wow me, but because Rollins is terrific. It's just these three. I'm not all that interested in the outcome of this one, to be quite honest.
It's a bit lacking in freshness to me, perhaps, because we saw so many combinations of these guys like all over Raw. Yeah, I don't disagree there.
All right. That is the Survivor Series. We'll go through all of that tomorrow night, right after the show, live, youtube.com/postwrestling. But we will open it up now for your phone calls and feedback from the forum.